Not yet. There. Now it says it's live. So it's
Good.
Coffee Conversations number 5241 on a Wednesday here in September 30th. Today's Coffee Conversation is brought to you by the letter R and the Bright Music Center Spittoon, the perfect place to put your musical waste. You
Why
ever
the
got?
letter R though?
I don't know. It should have been the letter P, shouldn't it? For PreSonus.
Oh yeah,
See, it could
could
have
have
been.
been.
Yeah. Our guest today is Evan Brown from PreSonus Audio. What is your title there, Evan?
I am the education market manager.
Ooh. So what do you do with PreSonus as the
Pretty much,
educational?
uh, pretty much as a whole, I deal with everything that kind of goes into any bit of the education market. So K to 12 education is obviously probably the biggest part of my job, as well as how our products and software interface into collegiate education and some other different things, initiatives with different like programs, audio learning programs around the world. Really, my position is mainly in the United States, but I also deal with people that are overseas, and it's that actually is pretty unique because how education is approached in different countries is very different, and I've learned actually a lot of good insight along the way by having to figure it out and flex with that. So
Oh. Have you got to deal with many Canadians? I hear they're very nice.
yes, and they are very nice.
Canadians are.
We actually have a very loyal Notion fan base in Canada,
Oh, very cool.
was a discovery. It was actually a discovery about 6 months into the job, and now it's going to be 3 years in December. So
Three. Jesus. Boy, that
Wow.
was fast.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it does.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, that's really quick. That's amazing. We have a lot of the schools that are using the PreSonus speakers and the PreSonus Studio One. We're big fans of Studio One here. Love that stuff, the interfaces and all that kind of stuff that is rolling out, and it's been really good for us. So especially during all this crazy pandemic stuff, when everybody's trying to get online and everybody's trying to podcast. All right, you guys saw a big uptake in business, I'm sure.
yeah, and it's I say it humbly, because there are parts of the industry that are struggling, and we're certainly trying to help a lot of people out across the industry. But additionally, we've seen products of ours that usually are not popular over the summer months or in quarter three that are popular right now. And I think what we're going to start to see is that will kind of flex the other way and back and kind of all around, because people are discovering using audio, and it's not just musicians now. It's a math teacher at a high school. It's someone that just wants their Zoom call to sound better on Monday afternoon. And so we're finding a lot of new users, and it's kind of been a unique storm of a summer into fall, because in the midst of all this, we also launched Studio One 5. So it was okay. So we have the pandemic going on. We actually ended up pushing the launch back a little bit, basically because our entire team was working from home, starting at the end of March. So launching one of your biggest products ever in the middle of a pandemic was certainly a unique experience. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're finding amazing is that because we've been a part of a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of calls in the industry, right? So a lot of NAM calls. We belong to a group called AIM that we do a lot of calls with them. The amazing thing to me is the number of people that are in this industry that are not using real microphones and real interfaces, and it's like, come on, it's not like it's hugely expensive anymore. It's very affordable, and it just sounds better. So
yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you don't have a microphone, if you don't have an interface, check it out. I mean, it makes life way better as far as these kind of things go.
Yeah. Like not only that, it just like adds to the retention of like people are actually listening to you rather than like listening to poor quality. So like especially for the classroom, like that is huge, I feel.
Yeah, I know for a lot of months we were out of stuff. I mean, we couldn't get interfaces, we couldn't get microphones, we couldn't get And now that seems to be a little bit alleviated. All that stuff seems to be back in stock for us. I know you guys are shipping stuff. In fact, we just got a new product. What was that, yesterday? The IO stations, which are really, really slick and cool. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that thing? Do you know about that thing?
Yes.
Okay,
That
I
is
wanna know.
super cool.
So the IO station, and we kind of said this. I think you and I were talking at the NAM show about this. Actually, like in the time when I think the booth might have been so crowded you couldn't move in the booth at that time. But what's crazy about the IO station is that it's really a marriage of two of our most popular products. The Fader Port, which has been around and very popular for a long time, which was a single automation controller that works with Studio One or any other DAW software. And our Studio 24C audio interface, which is one of our best-selling audio interfaces. And our product team kind of saw a need for, if you have a smaller desk, but you want some automation control, you need a basic interface, you're just doing some mixes, like, why would you have two different boxes on your desk taking up all this space? And for guys that are traveling on the road, on a bus, on a plane, all of that, it kind of made sense. So it was kind of like, oh, let's bring them together. And there came the IO station. And we were kind of talking, like, a lot of our company's background has been creating innovative, like, solutions that are also affordable for people. And I think we kind of hit it out of the park with that product. I know we feel really good about it, and a lot of the user feedback has been amazing for it, because of where it sits from a price point standpoint and also how useful it is. I mean, I have one that's going to be my travel when we're doing drum corps again and I'm on the road doing edits again, whenever that is, or, if that happens, all of that, I'm looking forward to having that on the road, because I know when I started using a single fader for controlling automations and all of my mixes, it saved me a ton of time, like hours, when you started adding all of it up.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what I want, and I've said this several times, is those rack mountable units, like the RM16s and stuff like that? They need to make like a little 8-channel, just sliders and mute buttons. That's all they need. Everything else can be controlled from an iPad. But as far as like live mixing, that would be like perfect. Like Blackhawk has the PreSonus set up with an RM16, right? And it's got an iPad and it's fine like that. But we've got to make sure everything's connected. If we could just have volume sliders over a USB cable or an Ethernet cable, that would be like golden.
It's actually a very popular request on our feature request page. So
everybody's requesting it. I know. I've said it. So I've said it for like 3 years now, and it's okay. I'll just keep saying it. There's lots of things I'll keep saying, and that's one of them. But there's a lot of neat stuff happening, especially with all these groups, and I know that you work with some area of marching bands and groups like that, and we're seeing. It's nice that some of them are actually going through and doing stuff. I know we are this weekend, right, Jen? Yeah, this weekend. We are headed to Lawrence County to actually video a band show. They're going to have a band show in Lawrence County with 9 bands.
Wow.
No fans. It's just band after band. They're just bringing them there, and we offered to actually video. We're doing a 3-camera shoot, just to give them something that they can take, and we're offering that as a free service just because these poor kids don't get that. Mm-hmm. My daughter was a senior last year, and yeah, that was bad that they lost like from March on, but these kids this year, they might not get anything, so having the regularity of marching band and stuff like that and being able to perform is great for at least those kids that can do that. So are you working with anybody locally right now trying to get stuff?
Yeah. It's definitely been a different fall, but my main, I guess, marching band gig, which is all in addition to my day job, is North Allegheny High School. The assistant band director for marching band and the kind of coordinate the entire percussion program at the high school level. So that has definitely changed because right in the middle of indoor season, poof, there goes indoor season. And Jen's been pretty familiar. Like, we've been building that indoor program. I've been there since 2009, and it's been a very slow, steady build. And this year was like pretty much by far our most successful year in terms of where the talent level of the kids were. We got a lot of the resources figured out of how to make things work, and we had a really stable rehearsal environment, which is a big thing. When you're in a big school district like that, finding gym space is a bit of a circus sometimes.
Yeah.
But we were consistently in the same rehearsal venue all the time. So it made for a really great season. And poof, here we go. Like week after our first regional, season was over. And then through the summer, it was kind of wait and see, wait and see, wait and see. And finally, the last week of June, the return to play plan for athletics and marching band started coming to fruition. And the percussion section, we were kind of the guinea pigs of the band. We were the first people to resume rehearsal after the 4th of July. So we kind of got to go through doing all the temperature checks, all the questionnaires before every rehearsal, which the kids handled fantastic. I mean, they were awesome. They were just thrilled to be back. They've followed like all the guidelines really well. Like we don't have to remind them of that, like, which has been awesome. And the full band came back in early August. We were able to do band camp, but at the time, the Allegheny County order was still for outdoor gatherings, groups of 50 or less. So band camp was a much more unique experience. We basically had the band split up all over campus in the small groups. So it kind of threw the idea of doing a traditional marching band show or production of what we were planning out the window, because we kind of couldn't really do that. So what we did with the percussion section is we actually created like a percussion show. And it's based because we have a large front ensemble and all those melodic instruments and all the electronics. It was like, okay, we can kind of package this and make it sound really cool and give the kids a product and keep their hands moving and all of that. And it turned out really cool. And it's based off of the music of Beyonce, so the kids really enjoy it too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like stuff that's accessible for them and their audience. And meanwhile, the Winds put together little mini shows throughout band camp to kind of still teach them marching fundamentals, marching basics. And then our department head, Bob Tozier, filmed that at the end of band camp and posted it on the department YouTube channel. And then the 2 weeks after band camp, the school was getting ready to reopen for the hybrid model. So percussion was actually the only section that rehearsed in those 2 weeks. So we kept going with the percussion show and some other prep. The Winds were off for a few weeks, which was very unique. That's never happened. But we were following everything the school was guiding us to do and wanted, and that's a big thing. There's a lot going on. And then beginning of September, we started rehearsing after school and we picked some basic stock arrangements that we could play as a full band because the county order by the beginning of September had been changed to pods of 100. But you could have multiple pods of 100 on the same field. So basically we had the woodwinds on one half, the brass on one half, the percussion in the back. So we were learning all about timing experiments and how to play at long distances. Wow. So I joke, like I always talk about there's teachable things in all of this. And I think some of those skills that the kids have had to deal with and adapt to will probably help us down the road and pay off, if we want to play at larger interval spacings in the future or have to. And fast forward to last week, we found out that we are now allowed to have the full band at the game. So this week has been kind of run and gun and let's figure out what we're going to do for Friday night. So we're doing kind of a mashup of we're doing the percussion show at the beginning of the halftime performance, and then we're doing 3 tunes with the full band as well, which will be really exciting. One thing that was really cool is it was hearing the kids' reaction when we got to tell them, hey, we're going to the game as a full band Friday. It's not just going to be like the seniors only or one section of the band. It's like it's going to be the whole band. It was like kind of a roar erupted all of a sudden because it's like, hey, we've been doing all this work and it finally like we get to do it, and so I joked like I was up late last night like figuring out our announcement tracks and all of that, like putting loops together and like, okay, the announcement needs to say this. Okay, not being the resident tech nerd there.
Kind of falls into you,
yeah. And Todd and Steve, the two daytime band directors there, have been, working hard to make sure like all the stuff is ironed out with athletics and call times, and there's just a lot going on there.
Man.
So that's my main marching band gig. But I also do sound design for a lot of the competitive Pimpa bands around here, which is there's obviously no competitive season here in Western PA this fall as far as Pimpa's concerned. And so it's been very unique. Like Kiski area doesn't have a synth player this fall, so there was really no electronic sound design as part of the show. But I got to go out for a couple rehearsals and just kind of look at the mix of everything that's amplified, like the marimbas, vibes, front ensemble instruments. And they have a staff member that's playing the synth part just to kind of fill in everything when they do performance runs. And then another thing I've learned this fall, or not learned, but gotten to experience, is that over at Norwind, which is another one of my clients, they're in Westmoreland County. They're able to do a more traditional marching band show and kind of keep their thing going. So I got to do some sound design to that show and get some sound effects going. But also they're doing some virtual competitions through U.S. Bands and Bands of America. So on top of just that, I've been helping them by recording the audio for those virtual competitions. And, basically it's a one camera take, but you can pull your audio from multiple sources, but it has to be from that same take. So we did a little bit of experimenting to figure out what would be the best blend of microphones and the placement of them. And, they had their first submission last week and participated this past weekend. And like basically how that works is they submit a video and then it's streamed the weekend after, and they get feedback and scored. And
Cool.
it's kind of a window into what things are probably going to look. Well, I know are going to look like for WGI this winter.
I thought they
I was just about to
canceled.
ask.
Oh no, that's right. They're doing all virtual. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good like kind of segue into that.
Yeah.
But it was certainly unique getting to kind of be on the front end of the design process, which is usually where I'm at with a lot of those bands. I do the sound design of the show, like all the sound effects and synth patches if they're using software synths, and then go in a few times and look at blend and balance. Now I'm looking at, okay, after the blend and balance, I'm looking at the post, like, okay, we got to sync this with video, and learning kind of the full circle experience there has been.
And not only that, that's like, to me, that's like a whole nother job, like a whole nother human, like to do that job. That's a lot. So obviously you have, all of the sound experience and recording experience too. So
yeah, it's been cool, but it's just it's different, and I think if there's one thing that, we could all make lists of what the pandemic's taught us, but I think it's, adapt, figure it out, and keep moving forward. And by doing all of those things, the kids that are in these or students, because they're really young adults, being in high school, most of the students that I work with, it's just, I think that when we show that, they respond and understand it's going to be all right, and they feed off of that. They figure it out, and they've learned, they're living through something that we never ever thought would happen, right? Or, never saw coming. So I think it's a good life lesson.
Well, it really is. It's amazing to me. The groups that seem to be doing and trying are the ones that really are succeeding. The kids are actually really getting stuff out of it. I mean, we're looking at a lot of programs that, and to be honest with you, some of them have just thrown their hands up and are like, yeah, this is hard, and we're not going to do anything. And that's too bad, because as you said, there are a lot of lessons to be learned, and any chance of getting an educator in front of a student is a good thing. The way it's being done is different, and it is harder. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, you think about it, you can teach somebody over the internet like this how to get to 2 + 2, but how to pick up a trumpet and make a sound out of it, that's a different thing, and that's a lot harder. But those people that are trying, those are the ones that we're all about trying to get them whatever we can to make them successful. So
yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, nobody thought this was going to happen, and this is going to be here for a while. So you might as well get used to it.
It's kind of adjusting to it's just adjusting and figuring out how to move forward in a different world. And you know, I joke it all kind of comes full circle because, you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're seeing at PreSonus products that had a very streamlined kind of single type of user or a couple different types of users that have now just broadened where they're getting used and how they're getting used, you know, and, you know, even digital mixers, using digital mixers for live stream has now become one of the main reasons people are buying them. Or, you know, it's a big part of their decision. It's not just a live sound piece anymore. It's how, you know, how does it mix down? How friendly is it for broadcast? You know, how can we create ecosystems of products that can serve, like, you know, in the church market, for example, that can serve a live house of worship, but also create a great online stream.
Actually, on that, I'm actually mixing a live stream for a church in Coriopolis using PreSonus boards. And they actually put in I'm in a separate building by myself with a big video screen with another PreSonus Studio Live that is patched into the same inputs as the other one. Mm-hmm. And he's dealing with the front of house and I'm dealing with live stream. And I never thought that I would get into that kind of situation at all. I mean, and it's so nice because, I mean, yeah, you can do it all on the same console, but that gets a little messy.
Right.
Just because it's a completely different mix. When you're mixing it to a live stream, it's completely different from the house. So,
oh yeah, the room sound and
mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's nice to be able to be separated out like that. And if the people can afford to do it, I mean, actually, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just a cable to get you to a different room. I mean, it's amazing that's possible. You know, I'm old. I've been mixing for 35 years. So,
yeah. You remember the pre-digital screen days?
Yes, I actually had to know how to use EQ. I didn't have presets. So I love them now, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, you can get up and rolling faster. And
oh yeah.
I mean, I kind of joke, and you know, like I work for PreSonus, so I'm obviously super familiar with our workflow of our consoles, which I think is a pretty straightforward, easy workflow to understand with the fat channel and kind of where they go. But you know, I still mix some stuff here and there on whatever console's out of place that I'm doing, and it's crazy how much digital has made it easier to go from place to place. Because I remember the analog workflows of different consoles also had a lot to do with how assistant, like you could, like they'll go look at the patching. It's like, okay, look at the back, go into your house cabinets and all of that. And now it's like a lot of the patching is digital. It's so straightforward, and you can kind of just like, oh, we just want to repatch. Okay.
Right. Well, if you ever went from, you know, the old school mixers, if you ever went from a Yamaha EQ set in the way that it's set up to an Allen Heath GL, I mean, that's a completely different world. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, the mid-range on that stupid Allen and Heath will kill you if you're not careful. So, you know, all you young people don't get that enough. But yeah, I mean, it's seriously, it was a disaster. You could really get yourself into a box really fast on an Allen and Heath and not be able to, but this digital stuff now, ugh. I mean, I have all these people that are like, oh, I don't know if I want to change. I'm like, what? Well, why don't you want to change? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Just do it. Jump. It'll be fun.
And once you make the jump, you're never going to go back.
Never go back. I did the same thing with in-ears, right? I fought in-ears for a while until I started having hearing issues, and I would never go back. I mean, in-ears are like my godsend. So is there anything new coming from PreSonus that we should be looking for?
Well,
to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I can't talk about that are around the corner. We have some exciting things coming in the before the end of the year, which I'm really excited about. Quite a few of them. So everyone will have to wait and see. Stay peeled to the PreSonus Facebook and YouTube channels for that. However, there's still some new things that I consider to be really new because a lot of them were in such high demand that a lot of them are just reaching store shelves now. Like we mentioned, the IO Station 24C. That was a NAM product. We also came out with the Quantum 2626, which is our first really affordable Thunderbolt interface. It's like $600 and has 8 ends right on the front. It's kind of the rebirth of the classic Fire series that was an 8, single rack space, 8 on the front design, rebirthed in Thunderbolt 3. So it's a really fast interface for those that are tracking drums or need something with really low latency. And that was also new at NAMM and is still in such high demand. It's still on order a lot of places. And then over the summer, Studio One 5, it was a huge update. We brought, particularly things that for the education market and educators, we brought some of the Notion technology of the notation software into Studio One for the first time. They've always had integration back and forth with each other, but we actually brought a score view in the Studio One Pro. And the thing I was actually most excited about is the new show page in Studio One 5. So there's now a live performance page. You can create virtual keyboard rigs or track players and different things in that. So now it's truly a start to finish DAW, from studio the whole way to stage. With Studio One Pro, you have your song page, then you can master it in the project page, and then you can take it to your show page and perform with it. And you use all the keyboards you designed in your song page and bounce them over to the show page and perform with it. So it really helps create a workflow from start to finish for those guys that are performing and producing their own music, and which is really everyone now, probably more than ever because of the pandemic. The home studio world is just everyone's at home. So it's like, I think just a few months ago, some of the Nashville recording studios started popping up, open again. But there's still a lot of people that travel in for sessions and travel around that aren't going to. They're a little more leery to travel. So we're seeing, the home studio growth happen, and how many people are using that, and so I'm trying to think what else is new.
Sphere.
PreSonus Sphere, which also got launched
which is huge.
Yeah, which honestly, we as far as I'm concerned, is one of the largest products we've ever announced. Simply because it contains every bit of software that we make. So Studio One 5, Notion, every single sound set and add-on that we make for Studio One 5 and Notion is included with it. And it also has an awesome collaborative community as well. And, the collaboration thing is huge in the world we're living in. And you can, it just makes all of that work really well. And there's also an educational component where we have 2 Studio One product specialists, Joe Gilder, who's located just outside of Nashville, and then Gregor Byerly, who is in Germany. And both of those guys create custom content for Sphere, in-depth master classes. Like there's one on mixing, there's one on compression, all these things that are kind of the nitty gritties. It's one thing when you start using a DAW and getting into, producing on one. And it's another thing when you really start understanding what all these plugins do, and really in-depth understanding all the intricacies of every DAW and their workflow. And, Sphere was kind of designed to create a community of people that love using Studio One or want to get into using Studio One. They can enter it at a little more accessible price point because of how Sphere is structured from a membership standpoint. But there's also all this extra content to help guide you along the way, whether you're starting out from scratch or whether you're an advanced user and want to learn all these crazy macros and, kind of workflow tweaks and tips. So it's a really exciting product, and there's something added every single month to it. And there's also live streams every month, and it's been really exciting to kind of watch it take the ground up, because I remember when all of us at PreSonus found out we were doing it. Our COO, Jim Boitnott, who's an awesome guy. He was my boss when I first started. I work with a lot of awesome people there. One of the people that has had a really great influence, and he probably doesn't even know it, is Jim, because we all interface with him so much. I remember when we were sitting on a Zoom call, and it was last year sometime, maybe in the summer, and he kind of hinted to it, and all of us were like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And then another month later, he started saying what it actually was, and everyone on the call was like jumping out of their seats. Like, you kind of saw everyone like coming to life. It was like, oh, this is not just a Studio One thing. Like, this is way beyond that. And kind of goes into a new generation of users as well. And a new generation for the company as well. And then trying to think, we also had one product that launched a couple weeks ago. We came out with a drum mic pack that is really affordable and actually sounds really good. I got to hear a recording with them that was done at Rick Knockby, our VP of Sales, house, like in his small home studio, and it sounds great. So that was our third microphone product that we've come out with in the last year. So we've expanded because, we found that customers have really come to our brand, and it's like, why not expand some things that we know we can do well and that are still accessible for a lot of customers at really affordable price points. Yeah. So, and then there's some new things around the corner that kind of echo where the market is going. You'll see a lot of things that can be useful for people creating music at home, as well as people that aren't just in the music industry, they're consumers and all of that. There's a little bit of something for everyone around the corner, even the live sound people. So we're pretty excited about where we're going.
Not like a little interface that has sliders on it and mute buttons. That's not coming right.
That's the IO station.
Well, well, if I could use the IO station with that stuff, I would.
Oh, you're saying, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I can't do that. No.
I'll make sure I buy someone the right amount of lunch.
Basically, the reason I'm like that is like, yeah, everything is in the iPad as far as being able to get to all the processing, but every so often that connection breaks.
Right.
And if you could just have a slider to turn things down, I would spend money, and I'm sure a lot of people have said that. But anyways, that's me just going on a tangent again. So that's what I do. It's what I do. So yeah, we are going to miss seeing you at NAMM this year because that's I don't know about virtual NAMM. Anyways, it saves us a bunch of money though, so I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be like, well, we didn't have to fly across the country because we all live here in Pittsburgh, and I know that the most expensive flight I take all year is NAMM.
Yeah, as you said, you're selling things that you're not usually are like just segment and stuff like that. It's the same with us. I mean, we are not doing what we normally do, which is rent band instruments, right? So that's what we do. We're not doing that. We're down about 70% as far as that goes. But we're selling the heck out of your interfaces or everybody's interface and everybody's microphone and everybody's whatever. I mean, so we're doing other things too. So we're adapting into that space to get into that. But it is a matter of just adapting and going. And of course, we do have the spittoon. If you don't have your own licensed spittoon, you need to get one of those. They're only $3.
It's for all those nasty brass players.
Yeah, leave remnants everywhere.
Remnants. That's a good one. All right. So, do we have anything else we need to talk about? Would like to talk about?
Well, maybe. So, Evan, what would you suggest, just as like a starting base of like, if there's any educator worker who's doing like Zoom calls and stuff, where's like the first like thing to get what's the first thing to get started with for like just better audio, so that because I know like myself, like before the pandemic, I wouldn't really know where to start. Now I can suggest to people like, oh, here's an audio interface, use that product.
Right. I think one of the best ways to start out, and it's also a very versatile way down the road, is I know we have them. I know there's other brands that have them as well, is a bundle that has an interface, has software. So if you want to record down the road and get into that, because I actually kind of joke, you might buy it for one purpose, for like just your Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're on. But at some point, you're probably going to end up being curious about, oh, this piece of software came with this. I'm going to mess with that. But there's a lot of packages like the AudioBox Studio bundles and the i2 Studio bundles that have a microphone, all the cables you need, the interface, a pair of headphones, which is pretty much the perfect little setup. And, there's also USB microphones on the market from a lot of manufacturers. And USB microphones are also super handy. The one downside they don't have, or a lot of them don't have, is say if you're teaching guitar or something that plugs in, or digital piano, how do you get that audio to your Zoom call? With an audio interface, you kind of have that flexibility. And there's a lot of different software things that are getting introduced. Whether it's third-party software, whether it's part of a specific interface, a lot of the larger interfaces have loopback on them. And you can utilize tools like that to mix a high-quality microphone, a high-quality piano, and all of a sudden the experience for the student or the user on the other side is so much better. Like we were saying, like how many Zoom calls have we been on, even in the music industry sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love everyone I work with in the industry.
Yes, me too.
Some of them you get on and it's like, what did you just say? And it's like, in the way their computer microphone is positioned, or that's built into their laptop, it's picking up more of their fridge in the next room over than them. Or you hear the one that's always great is when their office is beside a bathroom and you hear the toilet flush in the middle of the call.
Yep.
And I always joke, it is always at a moment where someone said something that was awkward right before it, and then the toilet flushes in the background, and it's
Yeah.
ooh, this
You have
is
like a weird pause of
someone had a
silence.
soundboard. So as far as getting started, like I always say, an interface, a mic, and headphones are a great way to start. And there's a lot of bundles that have all of those things and will save people a lot of money to do it. And the lifespan of this stuff is pretty long. Like our products are supported for a very long time. In terms of drivers, if you're on Windows, a lot of our stuff is Mac Core Audio compliant. So, like I know that I have an audio box interface it goes back in the day to when there were multiple colors of audio box interfaces. Like when I have one that's white, and that was quite a while ago when that edition came out. And then this year we actually came out with the all black 25th anniversary edition, kind of update to it. So I guess we could consider that a new product as well.
Yeah. Yep. That would be very cool.
Great. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, wait. Another question, because this might also be a question for others. Would any of those be so would all of those be like iPad or like Chromebook compliant?
That's a great question. So our iSeries, it's the i2, has MiFi certification right on it, or MFi, whatever. I can't remember what we call that. The Apple certification so the i1 and i2 both are certified for using with iPads, and they have a lightning cable and all, it's designed for that. And then as far as a lot of the newer devices that are USB-C, most of our interfaces are compatible. We have the Studio series, which are USB-C out of the box and come with both a C to C cable and a C to A, so depending on your connection, all of that. And then, I still use that old audio box I mentioned. It's kind of like my kind of like handy if I need a second interface or a third interface for something like random, or need one to loan to a friend. I've used that with the USB camera kit with my iPad, and
it works fine.
Yeah,
cool.
It's fine.
Perfect.
So there's a lot going on in that world, because that's another thing in education that has certainly changed things is Chrome, because that OS is just its own kind of unique thing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Sweet. So then everybody watching, it can work.
Yeah.
It'll work. Just do it. Plug
in and record.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what you should do. We should also make music. Yes. So, well.
That is all I have. Yeah. Evan, you have anything else to wrap up with? Some words of wisdom? Wednesday wisdom?
Wednesday wisdom.
Yeah.
I got to the bottom of my inbox today. So
hey. Congratulations.
That doesn't happen.
I just passed 44,000.
Yeah. I actually responded to it. Well, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to hop off of this and there will be a new pile of things to do, but that's all right. Busy is good. I like things busy. And I'm not quite as busy as I used to be, but it's still
It
really
keeps you out of
busy.
trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, might as well. I mean, it's not as much fun. But it keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah. As
So we
long
wanna
as I have
thank
my
Evan
coffee in my hand.
Thanks, Evan, for coming on today with Coffee Conversations. Jen and I will be back at some point with another guest.
At some
If you have
point.
any suggestions or anybody you'd like to hear, any questions for us, you can always reach us at, online at brightmusic.com, or Richard at brightmusic.com or Jen at brightmusic.com. Any of those work. So thanks a
And
lot.
if you have questions about the persona stuff that we talked about today, feel free to contact us. I also put the link to the PreSonus Facebook page on there, as well as a couple other links, especially one about the sphere link. So,
Cool.
comment below and
Sphere's
ask us
awesome.
your questions.
Very cool. Well, thanks a lot. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys later.
Click the button.
I clicked the button.